Hey guys, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about finding the area between two curves. And it's pretty simple. Anytime you talk about area in calculus, it's the integral from a to b. Okay, the function has to be continuous, and of f of x minus g of x. So what you have is you have two functions, and basically the way I tell my students, just basically the top function minus the bottom. And if you're looking at straight up and down, okay. So in this case, you have basic function. This is your top function. And this is, if you notice, the bottom function here is actually the x-axis. So we can say y equals 0. So we know that it's the integral. The top function is 4x minus x squared. Okay, minus, and if you want, you can put 0. That's perfectly fine. The only problem is, how do we find a and b? What is our limit of integration? Well, those are your intersects. Where do these two graphs, these two functions intersect? Well, they intersect here and here, and we'll do a couple other examples. And basically, to find out where they intersect, all you do is set them equal to each other. So whenever you have two functions and you want to know where they intersect, well, where they cross, all you do is set them equal to each other. And this has become fairly easy. You factor out an x, you get 4 minus x equals 0. You end up with x equals 0 and x equals positive 4. Okay. So now that you have that, well, now you know your limits of integration. You go from low to high. So you go from 0 to 4. And you just go ahead and integrate them. So we'll go ahead and do that together. So 4x minus x squared minus 0, well, that leaves you the same. So we're going to add 1. 4x becomes 4x squared divided by 2. Minus x squared becomes x cubed divided by 3 from 0 to 4. We can go ahead and simplify that. So that becomes 2x squared minus x cubed over 3 from 0 to 4. Okay. And just go ahead, now all we have to do is just the algebra. So we plug in the 4. So I'll just do this the long way. Plug in the 4 minus 4 parentheses cubed. Okay, and anytime that I'm done here, I just want to put it in brackets. That just tells me, okay, I'm done with that section. Minus, let's do another bracket there. Okay. And then, well, you can already see this is just going to be 0, because 0 with anything is 0. 0 times anything, 0 divided by anything. So now we're left with 4 squared is 16 times 2 is 32. 4 cubed is 64, so this is 64 thirds. And, well, we can go ahead and simplify further. That would give me 96 thirds minus 64 thirds. And that would give you, let's see, 30 would be 94, so it would be 32 thirds. If I'm not mistaken. Okay, and that's basically how you do that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at a more complicated one. Okay, and this is more generic one, what you're always going to see. Your professors, your teachers give it to you. Okay, so here we have another one. You can see you have these two functions intersecting. Okay, and I have to a and b, that's where they intersect. Same thing, from the area is the integral from a to b, top minus the bottom. So how do we find point A and B? Well, we're just going to set these two equal to each other. Well, how do you do that? Well, it doesn't matter how you do it. You set them equal to each other. X squared minus 3x plus 4. That is going to equal x squared minus 3x minus 4. And all we want to do is want to bring everything to one side, combine line terms. I think I'm going to bring everything to the right side just to keep the x squares positive. So that's going to give me, okay, this becomes over here, becomes positive 2x squared. Negative 3x plus 3x, well, that simplifies out. Minus 4, that's going to give me minus 8. I can go ahead and factor out a 2. That's going to give me x squared minus 4. I simplify that, factor it out, x minus 2, x plus 2. Therefore, x is equal to positive 2 and x is equal to negative 2. And those are my limits of integration. So, as I continue to solve this one, okay, so what I'm going to get is my area is the integral from negative 2 to positive 2. Now the top function, remember, be careful, because a lot of students, when they look at it, they get confused. So it's this function here. This is the top, which becomes negative x squared minus 3x plus 4. Okay. So let's come over here. So it becomes negative x squared minus 3x plus 4. Now I'm going to subtract. Now notice that I have to put my parentheses because I'm going to be distributing that negative, okay? Subtracting the other function, which is x squared minus 3x minus 4 with respect to x, okay? Well, now that I have that, I can just go ahead and combine like terms and simplify. So the area is the integral from negative 2 to 2. Distribute this negative. Remember, distribute to every single one. That's going to give me negative 2x squared. So negative and negative gives you a positive 3x, which cancels out with the negative. And then I have negative and negative 4, the positive 4, so 4 plus 4 is 8. Okay, dx, and that's what I have now. I just have to go ahead and integrate that. So negative 2x squared becomes cubed, add 1. 8 becomes the x from negative 2 to 2. And I'm just going to go ahead and set it up, and I'll let you guys finish it off for me. And let me just put it in brackets just so I'm staying nice and neat. So this becomes negative 2 times 2 cubed divided by 3 plus 8 times 2. Then minus, now I do the second one. Okay, and it becomes, be careful, we have a whole bunch of negatives here, negative 2 cubed divided by 3 plus 8 times negative 2. And basically this becomes algebra, and you can just go ahead and use your calculator and simplify this out. Okay, and it should be pretty straightforward. Now let me go ahead and do one more, because this is a little bit more complex one. Okay, and this is a very, very good question. Okay, now you notice this is, we have y equals x cubed, and we actually have 3 points of intersection. And this one's quite interesting because we're going to go ahead and switch the limits of integration. Okay, but it's much the same thing. So we know it's going to be from top to bottom, but if you notice, from this point to this point, we'll say that's A, we'll say that's B, and we'll call this point C. From here to here, A to B, you notice this part, this curve is the top, and this straight line here is the bottom. And then when we get to this second part from B to C, you notice this part here is the top, the straight line, and the curve is the bottom part. So we're going to have two integrals. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is set them equal to each other. That way we can figure out our limits of integration. And we take everything to one side, set it equal to 0, factor out an x, you're going to x squared minus 1. So this becomes x plus 1 and x minus 1. Set that equal to 0, therefore x is equal to 0, x is equal to negative 1, and x is equal to positive 1. So it appears this point right here is negative 1, this point here is 0, and this point here is positive 1. Okay, so watch how I'm going to write this, because it becomes very, very important. So the area is the integral, remember, from negative 1, the x value, negative 1 to 0. Okay, the top function is this curve. Well, what's this curve? Well, that curve is x cubed. Okay, minus the bottom function. What's the bottom function? Well, it's x. And I'm just going to close that off with respect to x. So I'm going to write dx. Okay. Now I have to go ahead and do the other one. Okay. Now, because it's two parts, I want the area, I'm going to add. Okay, notice that I'm adding both integrals. So it goes from, we continue from B to C, from 0 to 1. And now the top function is not x cubed. Now it's this straight line, which is x, minus the bottom function, which is x cubed, with respect to x. So we're going to put dx. And, sorry about that. That's what we have. Okay, and then from here, basic integration. So you just go ahead and do it twice. So we have x cubed becomes x fourth minus x becomes x squared over 2 from negative 1 to 0. Now we have this guy here. It becomes x squared over 2 minus x to the fourth divided by 4 from 0 to 1. and then you just go ahead and do it. Let me see if I can finish this off here. We'll just do it together. Well, this is going to be 0. Well, that's going to be 0 minus 0, right? Okay. The first part. Okay. Okay, minus, now I'm going to put this guy in here, and that's going to be negative 1 to the 4th over 4, minus, parenthesis, that's going to be negative 1 squared over 2. Okay, now all of this is the first integral, okay, this part here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this part. Negative 1 to the 4th is 1/4. So that's 1/4. I'm just going to keep that negative out there for right now. Minus, this becomes positive 1/2. So what does this become? 1/4 minus 2/4. That becomes negative 1/4. Okay. So this becomes, okay, so this becomes positive 1/4. So this whole thing here is just the first part. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the second one, and I'm just going to go ahead and do this a little bit quicker here. Now we're going to substitute in the 1, and it's positive, so that's a lot easier. So it's going to be 1 squared over 2 minus 1 to the 4th over 4. That's the first one. Now this one, the second one, minus, well, everything's going to be 0. So we're going to put a plus, and so what does this become? This becomes 1/2 minus 1/4. That is the same as 2/4 minus 1/4, which is 1/4. So we're going to have 1/4 plus 1/4 is equal to 2/4 or 1/2. Okay. Wow. Well, if you notice, the calculus isn't hard. It's the algebra that sometimes gets tedious. But remember, it's top minus the bottom. And hopefully that helped you guys out. Please subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions.